back. In addressing the nation last night, President Trump repeatedly praised his own record on the economy, saying, quote, "We're doing what nobody thought was even possible."
1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead. Our country was ready to fail, totally failed. Now, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. And that's said by every single leader that I've spoken to over the last 5 months.
Join me now to discuss the president's remarks. CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist Joel Payne, you see there on the left, and CBS News political analyst and Republican Leslie Sanchez on the right. A warm good morning to you both and welcome. Joel, I want to start with you because we've had some new CBS News polling that shows 41% of Americans feel their financial situation has actually become worse this year. Did the president successfully speak to those Americans last night?
Look, I think he had a high bar to scale. And from my perspective and from the folks who I've talked to, I think the president did not quite achieve that. What he gave last night sounded like a recitation of 2025, which for 37% of the American people, sure, that's a good story to tell because that's about his public opinion rating. But for 2/3 of the country, particularly those who maybe started off with a neutral or an open opinion of him and who have decided to step away from the Trump agenda and public opinion ratings, including ours at CBS, this did not do that. He did not do any attempts to reach out. He didn't do any attempts to take any real accountability. It was all about blaming his predecessor, Joe Biden. And he did not necessarily lay out a clear path of how. He laid out some declarations about what he expects to happen, but he really did not lay out any clear path of how he would make the country more affordable, how he would make people feel that. And I think that that is still going to vex this White House going into 2026, and it'll be a big theme of what Republicans are going up against going into the midterms next year.
And Leslie, President Trump began his speech by saying, look, he inherited a mess. But even in the clip that we just played, it sounded like rally Trump, where he's yelling into the mic and he's animated. I don't know that landed as well coming from the White House, where there's no background noise. Was there a missed opportunity, in your view, last night?
Yeah, considering the holiday, the president wanted to make a statement at the end of the year, it sounded like almost a mini kind of State of the Union. This is where we are economically. This is what's happened over the course of the year of the president's, first year in office on his second term. And I think he laid out very aggressively and sincerely the tremendous amount of work he's done to right the economy. Did it happen at a pace that people expected and people want? No, but I think people are feeling more optimistic generally than where they were in contrast to under the Biden administration. That's what the president laid out to do. He talked about the big kind of amplified those efforts on the border, securing the border, which was really significant. That was top of mind a year ago. But the economy and pocketbook issues kind of relating to what Joel's saying, completely agree with that. That's going to be a marker going into the new year. That's the part the president is trying to kind of talk about, a strong stock market, balancing the budget, getting the government, even with DOGE, kind of getting the government aligned, restrained, and functioning for the American taxpayer. I think people are going to give the president the benefit of the doubt on that. And I think the naysayers should see before the president does produce results, and we'll just kind of see where on the equilibrium that lands.
And Leslie, what surprised no one is that the president also went after Democrats last night. Let's just play a clip of some of that.
You'll get much better health care at a much lower price. The only losers will be insurance companies that have gotten rich, and the Democrat Party, which is totally controlled by those same insurance companies. For years, the radical left Democrats exploited the green energy scam as an excuse to funnel many billions of dollars into their own massive slush funds as their energy restrictions drastically drove up prices, and they drove them up at record levels. Frankly, in my opinion, the worst thing that the Biden administration did to our country is the invasion at the border. The last administration and their allies in Congress brought in millions and millions of migrants and gave them taxpayer-funded housing.
And we'll end by having you both answer this question. Leslie, how would you describe the president's tone last night, and who is that winning over?
I thought it wins over the military. He talked about that military dividend of 1776. So, there's been a lot of chatter about that in a very positive way. I think the president's focused on the right things, the economy. People recognize that. He's looking at the war fighter, and they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt to see how he turns this economy around.
And Joel?
I do not think we heard from a president who sounded focused. We heard from a president that sounds highly caffeinated for sure, but not necessarily locked in on the things the American people sent him to Washington to do. This president seems overwhelmed with grievance, overwhelmed with retribution, going after petty things, putting plaques on walls, rebuilding ballrooms. And the American people are seeing that. If Donald Trump wants a better read from the American people, he's going to have to really dig deep, demonstrate that he can focus in on what he was sent to Washington to do. There's precious little evidence of that so far.
Well, Joel Payne and Leslie Sanchez, what a treat to get to chat with you both on a Thursday instead of a Monday. Been great to have you with us this year. Enjoy your holidays in the new year. I'll see you in 2026. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.